So here we are, talking about something I never would have thought I would have felt worthy of bringing to your attention. That's the royal family. I was reminded a few years ago Prince Harry impressed many, not me personally, but many, by going to Afghanistan as a military man. He could have stayed home or found some reason to avoid military service, true enough. Or this could have just been a publicity stunt by him or his family. We've seen this before with plenty of politicians. I give you Pete Buttigieg as the latest example here in the States. This could be looked back on as a sign of things to come, leading up to this one embarrassment after another, being a member of the royal family and all. As I recall, the British royal family had been concerned that Prince Harry could have been captured and turned into a propaganda tool. Nevertheless, Harry served, and that was honorable, I guess. Now, if I'm honest, I'm thinking as time rolls by, the Brits will come to the realization that he was captured anyways, just not by a Middle East terrorist organization, but by something far, far worse. An American gold-digging woman. That's just my observation and prediction, of course. Let's get this quick commercial break out of the way before we dive headfirst into the idiocy of our newly acquired royal family members, now firmly indoctrinated into the California leftist elitist class. Our health and patience have really been challenged, so I found a remedy that works. 100% pure ESS 60 is incredible, and now you can buy it directly from the lab. They call it a miracle molecule because people sleep better, enjoy more energy, and mental focus with a simple spoonful in the morning. You can mix it in your salad, rub it on a steak, or even dip your bread in it. ESS 60 comes in 3 delicious organic oils: olive, avocado, and MCT coconut. This groundbreaking blend supports your immune system with powerful antioxidants and antiviral properties. ESS 60 delivers more than 172 times the power of vitamin C. It's such a powerful antioxidant that it helps neutralize free radicals to assist with detoxification. Don't wait to order your ESS 60 oil directly from the lab. You're going to love it, and it's good for pets too. Get $10 off today at www.c60evo.com/conservative resurgence. That's www.c60evo.com/conservative resurgence, or click that link in the description box.
Farage joins us. If I'm not mistaken, Nigel, the Brits are really furious about this. Have at it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, Fox, of course, covered the royal wedding a few years ago when it took place. I was there helping. It was a fairy tale wedding. Meghan was welcomed with open arms, not just by the royal family, not just by the British media, but by the British public. There was no question about that. And, she was going around the country. People were cheering, "We love you." The criticism started when Harry and Meghan started lecturing all of us about climate change and carbon emissions, and yet were flying around the world in private jets. And they seemed to think they were somehow above all forms of criticism. But you have to ask yourself a question. Why was Oprah Winfrey at their wedding, given they'd only ever met briefly once before? And frankly, if I'm honest with you, I think she'd planned from the start to use the princess title as a means of making it big in Hollywood. And everything I saw last night confirmed that. And we are absolutely furious that our royal family, after 70 years of going around the world, supporting a commonwealth with over 2 billion people in it, most of whom are Asian or black, the inference that our royal family is somehow racist is making people very, very angry indeed.
Well, after this, where to from here? I mean, I take it Harry has burnt his boats entirely. He can never go back, never be part of the family again. I mean, is that where we're going here?
Well, of course, those that have watched The Crown, and I know many in America have, will remember this, of course, happened before with Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee, and Edward VIII. And they went and lived in exile, but never, even though they were treated pretty harshly, never did they once speak against the monarchy, speak against the crown. I mean, whatever my thoughts on Meghan Markle are, frankly, for Prince Harry to betray his own family in public like this, I think it's despicable. I don't see any way back whatsoever.
Now, over the weekend, Harry and his lovely wife Meghan joined Oprah Winfrey on television, because that's really why they separated from the fam, and hopped over the pond to live in the stereotypical hills of Beverly, don't you know? As one would expect in our current times of Orwell, it didn't take long for the conversation to get all kinds of racial. Now I know what you must be thinking. Looking at this couple, one would, in any other time frame in history at least, wonder why the hell would these two very wealthy, elite members of the royal family want to discuss race, ironically of course with the wealthiest black woman on the planet and in history if memory serves. You know, I would give more credibility and relevance to their opinion on almost any other topic in existence than racial issues. And yes, that includes Oprah. Her servants probably have servants, for crying out loud. Believe it or not, folks, as it turns out, Meghan is biracial. Who would have guessed? I certainly had no clue looking at her general appearance, and of course refusing to spend any of my limited time on this floating rock watching, reading, listening, or basically digesting any of this pathetic, mindless drivel in any way. Well, beyond glancing at the occasional headline as I make my way through my daily websites. You see, we all have lines that we draw, and one of mine is refusing to play into the childish idea that being born into one of these royal families makes you remarkable in any way, shape, or form. No offense to the Brits or any others living under royal rule, so to speak, but here in America we've learned that bloodlines don't make the man or woman. In fact, this sort of fame and undeserved credit usually does nothing but harm in the long run. The proof of my summation reveals itself through this idiotic interview of two kids that, like so many, have done absolutely nothing to garner the massive amounts of attention they bathe in so egotistically. Now, I found a pretty damn good article out of the New York Post that at least somewhat focuses on the issues that should be scrutinized when it comes to this young, out-of-control couple. This article was written by Miranda Devine. If you had any doubts that Meghan Markle is a manipulative piece of work, I would have put something else there, but let's move on. Her bombshell Oprah interview Sunday night, dumping on the British monarchy, would set you straight. Prince Harry's American wife accused his family of hateful racism against her baby, claiming they refused to protect her and drove her to the point of suicide. She made the incendiary and implausible charge that when she was pregnant with Archie, the royal family decided that her unborn son would be denied the title of prince because her mixed race meant he might have darker skin. You could make no more damaging charge about a monarchy that presides over a commonwealth of nations made up of a majority of people of color. So this was the root of Meg's exit. Meghan convinced herself that the royal family was denying her son a title and the security protection that comes with it because of his potentially dark skin. She didn't personally care about all the grandeur of the title, oh no, but was upset about, quote, our son not being safe and the idea the first member of color in this family not being titled in the same way other grandchildren would be. Now, Harry didn't join her until the second hour of the tell-all, but Oprah let viewers know that he was listening to every single word. He didn't defend his family, but acknowledged a conversation with a relative early in the relationship with Meghan, which had included the question, quote, what will the kids look like? Alluding to the color of their skin. Now, whatever the accuracy of his recollection, it does not bolster Meghan's allegation that Archie was denied a title because of his race. Just a real quick side note, folks. Don't you think maybe we as a whole, let's say as a whole of Western civilization, should really get back to holding people accountable for the crap that comes out of their mouths? No matter what race, no matter what sex or place of origin, just straight across the board. If you say some dumb shit, you should be held accountable. Okay, back to the article. Harry said that he was really hurt that no one in his family called out the press for the, quote, colonial undertones of articles and headlines about Meghan. That's right, folks. Colonial undertones. Colonial. This kid is screwed. Meghan claimed that she never read negative press coverage about herself, yet was devastated by it, and said the royal family refused to intervene to stop it. She then became suicidal. Quote, I just didn't want to live anymore. It was a really clear and real and frightening constant thought. She claimed that life in the royal family was, quote, almost unsurvivable, and she would be dead if they hadn't left England. The 36-year-old Harry looked grim and joyless for the hour he sat holding his wife's hand and answering Oprah's probing questions. Even when the 39-year-old Meghan gave him permission to reveal the sex of the unborn baby, it's a girl, his smile and little fist pump seemed strained. When Oprah asked what, quote, delighted him about his new life with Archie and Meghan, there was a long, uncomfortable pause when he looked desolate. He eventually cited walks on the beach and riding a bicycle with Archie. Meghan also threw her sister-in-law Kate under the bus, saying that the future queen had made her cry the week before her wedding, and yet the palace allowed the media to say it was her who had made Kate cry. Quote, that was the turning point, she said. Quote, the narrative with Kate, which didn't happen, was really difficult and something that I think that's where everything changed. She went on to say, quote, the reverse happened, and I don't say that to be disparaging to anyone because it was a really hard week of the wedding and she was upset about something. But she owned it and she apologized and she brought me flowers. What was shocking was 6-7 months after the wedding, the reverse of that would be out in the world. I would never have wanted that to come out about her, ever even. I protected that from being out in the world, unquote. This is just psychotic. Get over it. Even if what she says is true, she got her apology note and her flowers, move on. She appears jealous of Kate and her position above her in the royal pecking order, but has persuaded Harry that it was Kate's jealousy that fractured the relationship. Meghan ensnared Harry by acting out the worst nightmare of his childhood, when his beloved mother was killed with her lover in a car crash in Paris when Harry was 12. He was powerless to save his mother then, but he is determined to save Meghan from what she led him to believe was, quote, history repeating itself. Quote, my biggest concern was history repeating itself, Harry says, holding hands with Meghan as she gazes adorably at him, dressed in her $4,700 black Armani dress and patting her pregnant belly. Quote, I'm just relieved and happy to be sitting here talking to you with my wife by my side because I can't begin to imagine what it must have been like for Diana going through this process by herself all those years ago. You see how that works, folks? Asked how Buckingham Palace would react to, quote, hearing you speak your truth today, Meghan was smugly triumphant. Well, this was interesting, kind of. Well, definitely different for sure. I want you folks to imagine how truly suicidal Harry will undoubtedly be when he wakes up from this trance he's under. How does a kid that thin-skinned manage to deal with the fact that A, he's taken a massive dump on his entire family, all for a sick, twisted American gold digger, and B, he has displayed for all of the world to see just how big of a gutless, neutered pussy he is. So I guess the question should be, how long will Harry really go before he does himself in? Feel free to leave your predictions in the description box.
I mean, whatever my thoughts on Meghan Markle are, frankly, for Prince Harry to betray his own family in public like this, I think it's despicable. I don't see any way back whatsoever. And I think that the British public will demand that they're stripped of their titles. I really honestly do.
Did you see this coming, Nigel?
Sadly, yes. I noticed very early on the hypocrisy that I mentioned earlier. But secondly, she couldn't keep staff for very long. That always says something. You know, when you can't keep, whether it's chauffeurs or maids or whatever it is, it always, I saw that signal there. Harry, look, the poor boy had a difficult upbringing, his mother dying so publicly. It was an awful thing for him to go through. And I think he's been left rather weak as a result.
My apologies if this topic got on your nerves a little bit. This isn't typical, and it won't be updated upon for sure. Well, I really shouldn't say that because anything is possible when Meghan's involved. Let's just say it's highly unlikely. Most of this came by way of the New York Post. If you liked it, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. I'd like to thank everybody for all your donations. They're much needed and much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we'll see you next time.
Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.